And welcome back to In This Corner, as it is a Team Quest special here on this episode. We got done talking to Nate Rock Quarry just a few moments ago, and now we move to another one of the members of Team Quest in the heyday, one of the pioneers of mixed martial arts, and always has a lot to say, a 22-year veteran of mixed martial arts, WEC, UFC, and Bellator. Future UFC Hall of Famer, I'm sure. And, of course, you can catch him on You're Welcome with Chael Sonnen, the podcast, I believe twice a week, and all over ESPN talking about the sport. Chael, it's a pleasure to have you on.
Cyrus, thank you, buddy. Nice to see you. Thank you for giving a plug to the old Team Quest days, by the way. I got good memories. Good memories with those guys.
Well, we are going to dig into that then. I want to talk about that, and Nate Quarry had a lot to say about it as well. Maybe not as fondly as maybe you will. We'll find out. It's going to be interesting. So
you to hear Nate's piece. I didn't know Nate was on. I would have tuned in earlier just to eavesdrop. I'll have to hear it when it comes out. But yeah, Nate wasn't thrilled. I'm sure he let you know, but he wasn't thrilled the way it ended. I think he did like his time there, but towards the end, there was some hurt feelings.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it was, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, there's a reason why you're having to do everything at home right now, and why I'm having to do everything at home, that being the COVID-19 coronavirus situation that has everybody at home in quarantine currently. Let's talk about it a little bit. How have you adjusted? You talked to me off air saying that, you're just bored out of your mind. Other than that, man, what's going on with you?
I will tell you, for the most part, am ignoring it. It's kind of like a lockdown mode. When I say I'm ignoring it, I don't mean I don't respect it. I'm quite sure that I had it, my wife had it, and our kids had it, and we had it in about December of last year. It went through not only my team, American Top Team now, but I coach a wrestling team too, and our whole team got hit. And when this thing finally broke in January and all the signs and the symptoms, we all kind of look back and go, oh, that's what we all had. So,
interesting.
Yeah, for the most part, if they are correct on the one-time to immunity, I'll speak just from a personal standpoint, we're through it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. And obviously, you're very involved in this sport in a number of ways. Whether it be promoting, coaching, etc. So many different things. But of course, also as an analyst for ESPN and on the UFC and mixed martial arts. And the UFC has had a very interesting few weeks as we tape this interview. We've heard all kinds of things about a fight island. We've heard about going to tribal land in California, down to Florida, different countries wanting to host it, every stand that you can think of. They would love to put it on. It's really an amazing time. What do you make of the UFC's current situation and what Dana's trying to do? Just making a fight happen. Do you think it's the right thing to do?
Yeah, what tremendous leadership. Yeah, of course I do. It has nothing to do with the punches and the kicks or the unified rules. It has to do with the mentality. It has to do with a group of athletes, a group of believers, even a group, fans that have been here for over 20 years and dealt with everything from discrimination to sexism to laws that had to be changed and finding a way to dig in no matter what. Face it all and move forward. It's a mentality thing. This is largely what the mixed martial arts are. They're not about the punches and the kicks. That all came along later. It was about a mindset, being strong here, not being strong here. I like the message. I think it's going to be very hard. I mean, logistically, what Dana tried to take on was a mountain, but I still like the effort.
Okay. I mean, if you're in the same situation, and who knows, one day maybe Chael Sonnen, president of the UFC. I saw that Cormier said he was interested in if he ever got that option. What would you do if you were in Dana's position? Let's just be hypothetical here. You're faced with this same deal. Would you go the exact same route that Dana's doing, or is there some things you maybe would have changed or tweaked?
No, I think everything that he did. Look, here's the one thing, and he's never great about this. He's so great at coming out and building up other people, but he never gives himself credit. And let me tell you in this way, Cyrus, we only found out after everything was canceled. You bring up Daniel Cormier, but Daniel Cormier helped to shed light on this because he was going to participate as the commentator. We only found out after it was canceled how many steps and precautions they had in place. And I just think from the world of PR, which, we've been misunderstood for a very long time. The laws now agree with me. I mean, that's settled issue right there. We were misunderstood on this one too. The fact that everyone was going to be separated, Daniel comes out and talks about he's going to be over here working with Anik, who's over here working with Rogan, who's over here. I mean, they had to figure out all those logistics with their production people, the way the ring was going to be cleaned, the fact that each fighter was going to be put in a hotel room, and they were going to have a treadmill delivered to that room to separate them during the weight cut so that they got to be in complete isolation. The fact that a commission official was going to come to the room and weigh them in virtually and totally separated from their athletes. The fact that they were all tested. They all had to come back negative, including the cornermen, and they had to do this in a very quick turnaround time, and they did. I don't think they did a great job of letting everybody know all the great things that they were doing. And I don't think there's anything wrong if he wanted to come out and brag just a little bit and say, I've thought of these things. I got my own damn teams. I'm a president too. I'm a decision maker too. But here's the evidence I had. I was basing decisions on very good evidence.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, and that makes a lot of sense, I mean, and you're right. All that information is starting to leak out there, and you put it out there, and when you hear it on that side of it, then it does make a lot more sense. And it's interesting, you want to see these guys fight. You want to see these fighters make money. I mean, a lot of the times these guys don't get paid unless they are inside of that octagon, inside of a cage, inside of a ring, and actually fighting. So you got to pull for the fighters. A ton of them. You used to be one. I have a ton of friends that are fighters, and I want to see these guys get paid. And Lord knows that we need some entertainment right now. And Dana was trying to create some entertainment. Another promoter that has created some entertainment, maybe.
Cyrus, if I may, I fully agree with you. But anytime we start talking about money, right, we just turn people off. It just does for whatever reason, even though it's a very real thing, even though people need it for food and shelter and essentials and it just turns people off. Please don't miss this. This was about leadership. This was not about punches and kicks. This was about saying, look, whatever the challenge and whatever the struggles, we're going to find a way through it. And throwing our hands up and giving up is not what we do here. That's the message, and it should have been appreciated.
Well, as I'm a segue here into Vince McMahon and the WWE. They have continued. It was just reported that Florida considers the WWE an essential job. So they're going to be able to continue with what they're doing. What do you make of, even just as a fan, watching wrestling in an empty arena? I know you probably tuned into WrestleMania. It was a very surreal, very interesting thing. What do you make of what Vince McMahon is doing? Do you think it's a good product? Do you think it's a good decision?
Oh, I look, the whole thing is very weird to watch, but I will tell you, I don't think that the world of TV is ever going to go back. Now, I don't argue that we stay where we are now, but I don't think we're ever going to go all the way back. I think we've found other ways. I mean, I watched Jimmy Fallon. He's doing it from his living room. I'm watching different CNN, Fox News, different places to get my information from. These hosts are doing it from their house. I'm just saying, Cyrus, that even the way that you and I are making content right now, I think we're starting to learn. And maybe it's been a little bit easier than we all made it. Maybe we don't need those big fancy sets and all the different things that go into it. So wherever that balance is, look, when I tell you that wrestling has been weird, I don't mean that as an insult. I've actually been, it is baffling. I never knew that the audience played such a role. I thought it was all on the performer and the wrestler. I'm now finding out how important that energy of those building, the signs in the crowd, the reactions, the pop, the boos, it's so important to everything that happens. So yes, I think for Vince to lose one of his key components, not only from a revenue standpoint, but just from an energy and production entertainment standpoint, and still find a way to move forward and meet his schedule. We were talking about money a minute ago with the fighters. Well, those wrestlers don't need it. Those guys don't have to have it. They can skip a couple of paychecks. Those guys have done just fine. Cyrus, it's not about the money. It's not about the matches. It's about finding a way in tough times.
Sure. Yeah, and I'll tell you, and we'll stay on that WrestleMania, they had two matches there that were very highly produced. They had The Undertaker and AJ Styles. They did that in the graveyard. It was like a little mini movie. And then you had the Bray Wyatt and John Cena, very, very similar. They're all over the place, very produced, but very entertaining, probably the highlights of the entire show. Do you think that wrestling, maybe you'll kind of make that turn and adjust? And we're going to get more of that because, the nature of wrestling kind of plays to that. It's like a soap opera. It's like a little miniature movie. It kind of plays to that.
And Cyrus, what a brilliant way to solve a problem, right? If your problem is you don't have an audience and it's going to look a little bit different on TV than what people are used to, don't even do it in the arena. Take it out to the graveyard. Take it out to, what a perfect way to do it. Produce it. Term that you use, but now they can spend an hour on the match if they need to. They can edit, they can make it more like a movie. We still get what we want, which is the conflict. the resolution to the conflict, move on to the next one. I thought that was a great way to solve the problem. And I must tell you, as an Undertaker fan, Cyrus, they might have just added 10 years to his career.
Yeah,
if you go out and you do it that way, where you could do a little bit stand down, do a little bit stand up, piece it together, do like that vignette style, I thought it was awesome. I think everybody won.
That's awesome. Well, you
Why
never
go
know.
back to the arena? Why have to do it in the squared circle? Why have to do it to those constraints if there's another way? And when there's no live audience who you're leaving with dead action because it's all a viewer anyway and you're piping it in through the truck, man, it was a brilliant solution. I don't even think it was meant to be, by the way. I think they just want to do that graveyard match. Then it just happened that we got in this, different time. I think everything maybe unintentionally worked out, but I hope they learned something from it.
Yeah, I think it could be a great thing. Sticking with wrestling for just a little bit longer, we worked together on Global Force Wrestling. It seems like a long time ago, 3-4 years ago, I guess, out in Las Vegas. And you kind of had your first foray into the business. And everybody had always said, Chael Sonnen would be perfect for professional wrestling. He knows how to talk. He knows how to cut a promo. Well, you actually got to do it. You cut a number of promos. You got the crowd all riled up. You were beefing with Jeff Jarrett and his wife, and you had Phil Baroni off to the side. We were having a lot of fun at Global Force Wrestling. Tell me about that experience, and was it really a dream come true for you to kind of be able to do that? Do you think maybe there's more?
I remember it very similar to the way you described it, man. That was a great time. We're at the Orleans in Nevada, Vegas, and it was just great. Hey, by the way, sidetrack, what's happened to Jeff Jarrett? Was that all a work that he was over at Global Force and he left, and it was like this weird thing? And where is Jeff Jarrett right now? Because he's not answering.
Jeff Jarrett is backstage in a very extremely prominent role with the WWE now.
Oh, he is. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he, after he went into the Hall of Fame, I believe they brought him in as an agent, and now he's rose up the ranks pretty quickly. And I think he's, maybe one or two or three spots, on the totem pole, away from the top. So he's getting up there, and he's doing a great job.
Well, he knows the business so well. I mean, it does seem like you're better to team up with him than have him as a rival, a fellow promotion. But I didn't know that. I appreciate the update on that. That was so much fun. Those guys, Bobby Roode and being around Nick, and I could name drop and play that game all day. But I mean, there was such talent that was coming through there, and then to be behind stage, that would be the part, to the dream come true part. That was the cool part, to see how the sausage was made, to be welcomed into that environment, being a lifelong fan, being there with you, having the meals, sharing the conversation. Yeah, man, I wish we were doing it right now. That was fun.
That was a lot of fun. And I want to ask you about Roddy Piper, because I don't know if anybody knows this or not. And, it was supposed to be that Roddy Piper was supposed to make an appearance with GFW there in Vegas, and he was supposed to ineffectively pass the torch to you as far as doing those interview segments. And obviously he passed away just a few weeks before he was supposed to come out to Vegas. And, you're up there in Oregon. Piper was in Oregon, lived in Oregon. Did you know Roddy Piper beforehand? And how disappointing? I know I was absolutely devastated because I was so excited to meet with Roddy Piper and just be able to conversate with the guy. Sure. What was that like when you found out about that? And did you know Roddy before that?
Yes, I did. So I wouldn't be what you would call close with Roddy. I'm close with his son, Colt. He and I are teammates, and then I was even able to serve in a coaching capacity to Colt. But Roddy would come in. He was very supportive. I mean, they talked every day. They had dinner together every single night. I mean, Roddy and his family were very tight with each other. If you ever saw them out on the town, you would see the wife. You would see the sister. I mean, they would all be together. They liked each other. They were a good family. So, yeah, when he passed, sure, everybody felt it. But from a personal standpoint, I felt it for Colt. I wanted to go give Colt a hug. I wanted to make sure that I was there for Colt, and we still check in. And just a tough spot overall. I mean, it was really stunning how much people, at least in this area, like the Piper family.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And very, very sad situation. Well, let's take a little bit of a turn here and talk about Team Quest. We alluded to it earlier. You were a part of an incredible stable of fighters. When you talk about Quest and the few locations that they had, whether it be Dan Henderson, Matt Lindland, Nate Corey, Randy Couture, so many huge names in this sport. And I asked the question to Nate about this. When you look back in the historians and a lot of the MMA fans, everybody talks about what Miletich was doing. And I'm an Iowa guy. I'm from Iowa originally. And what Miletich was doing, how they raised all those guys up. but you don't hear about Quest quite as much. You hear Miletich a lot. You don't hear Quest quite as much. How do you think you guys stacked up against each other when you talk about that stable of fighters?
Well, we went head-to-head with them a number of times. I'd have to go back. I'd have to go back and look and see who won those. But we did go head-to-head. I mean, even Miletich and Matt Lindland himself fought. I had my with a guy named Jeremy Horn out there.
Of course, yeah.
That would be ones not in the Team Quest column. I'm just thinking out loud, though. But then you remember Randy and Tim Sylvia meeting up for the championship. And I always thought that Rich Franklin was a Miletich guy. I think over time he ended up somewhere else. But when he was fighting, I was following his career very closely. I thought he was with those guys as well. And the Matt Hughes. So
yeah, you're right.
For you. They sure had a great team. And they had better management than we had. They had Monty Cox, who just could get right into the UFC. Monty Cox, everybody liked to work with him because he was just organized. Above everything else, he was just really organized. So if you're a fight promoter and you got to work with some, boom, Monty had the stable of guys that would go in. Monty represented all of Pat Miletich's guys. Yeah. So they just had really good opportunity. I think head-to-head on paper, they might have had more belts than us, but maybe not. That'd be a close one because we do get credit for Evan Tanner's world championship. We get credit for Dan Henderson, who had the Pride World Championship. So it would be close. But on paper, those guys were a little bit better at playing the game at that time than we were.
Do you have a good story about Team Quest and some of those guys? Just maybe a story that nobody's heard, or maybe you've told once or twice about some of those guys and just a normal training day or just something fun that happened.
Well, I will just tell you, we didn't know what we were doing, Cyrus. Don't forget, this was the time when mixed martial arts was something you did on Saturday night when you actually had a contest and a competition and you walked out there. You didn't train mixed martial arts because we didn't know how to. So you would go over here to box on Monday. And then you get with a group of guys Tuesday afternoon to wrestle. And then on Wednesday, you go do some kickboxing or some mitt work or something along. There was no putting it together. There was no coach that stepped forward and said, I'm a mixed martial arts coach. Miletich was one of the first, followed by Robert Follis, Team Quest, who was one of the first that goes, no, I do it all. I put everything together. You don't have to go drive all over town, somewhere different every single day, try to figure out what your training is. Come here every day at 3, we work together. But that was a new concept. As much as you'd go, well, yeah, duh. Okay, but back then it was a new concept.
Yeah.
So we would have guys coming through. I mean, if I have any regret for my Team Quest days, it's that I never brought a camera into the room. And it wasn't like today where everybody's got a camera right on their cell phone. It wasn't like that. So there would have been a little involvement to set it up. But Cyrus, I mean, whatever you would ever pay for on pay-per-view, I saw it. You can never see Dan Henderson as champion of Pride fight Evan Tanner. I saw it every single day. You could never see Matt Lindland versus Randy Couture. I saw it every single day. And this is before we had guys dropping in, the Rico Rodriguez's of the world, the Tim Sylvia's, the Boss Rutons, the Don Fries, the James Colossus Thompson. I mean, it was a who's who coming through that room. And I must tell you, for the most part, we didn't appreciate it. Team Quest was kind of like a fine wine. It got a lot better over time. When you were in there, you got some broke dreamer wants to be a cage fighter for whatever reason, and you got another broke dreamer over here that wants to be a cage fighter for some other reason. We didn't really know that on the world stage, we were building something very powerful. That was an accident.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, and I appreciate you shedding light on that because you're right. It would have been great to have a camera in the gyms and just to kind of get more history behind there. But that's, I guess, why you guys are here to tell those stories, and we definitely appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and just real quick touch on this because I know you may have a different view on it. I just talked to Nate, and we know that Nate obviously has a lawsuit against Zuffa for many, many years. He is a big proponent, and he talked about that in his interview about the Ali Act and about the way that MMA is promoted and handled in general. Talking about guys, maybe getting fights when they shouldn't, or talking about guys where it should just be down to the wins and the losses, et cetera, et cetera. How do you feel about that? Because you're a guy that obviously, because of the way you've been able to promote yourself and self-promote, I think for the most part, it's been a lot of self-promotion. You've been able to land in some pretty amazing spots at amazing time, right place, right time, and amazing things have happened in your career. Kind of the poster child for that. How do you feel about the Ali Act and what Nate is pushing, where he feels that MMA and fighting should be handled a different way?
Yeah, and you know what? Thank you for those nice words, by the way. Nate's a very smart guy. Like, Nate is very well read. He's good at looking at evidence. He's good at coming to his opinions and conclusions. I have different opinions and conclusions that he does, but that doesn't make him wrong. And I don't think he would tell you that I'm wrong. I've got the right to view it my way, but he's got very good reasoning for the way he says it his way. Look, I do have to tell you right up front, I have done my best to wrap my head around that Ali Act. I've never fully got there. I could have an 85% good conversation with you on it, but I'm just simply not all the way there. And there is some problems with it that some other people don't see. Look, I understand how people would like to say that this sport and who gets an opportunity should be based on wins and losses. I understand that. Even if that were true, which it's not, even if that were true, you have some tremendous debate there. You'll have common opponents, and one guy finished him, and the other guy barely beat him, and therefore the one who got the finish should get the nut. Is that any more objective or subjective? Look, here's what nobody wants to admit. You and I know this to be true. Everybody should know it to be true, but for some reason we resist it. We are in the entertainment era. And while we are having entertainment that is based around the unified rules and based around a ranking system and ultimately recognizing somebody in front of their peer as champion, we're still in the entertainment era first. And one thing that you have to have with you if you want a big ranking next to your name is popularity. And one thing you have to have with you, there's a lot of ingredients, okay? The pie, wins and losses, and there's all sorts of things that go into it. But Cyrus, to make believe that a mandate of the masses, which is purely based by one thing, popularity. Do people want to see you fight? Are they willing to raise you up in front of somebody else to make the promoter see and make the promoter sign off? I understand there's politics in it. What I don't understand is why we push back on that instead of embrace it. If you want to manipulate the system, first thing you have to do is understand the system. And I think that some people really refuse to do that. And man, I like that a lot for the Olympics. I like that a lot for the NCAA. I like that in high school. I like it in Little League, and I like it in Pee Wee. I don't like it in professional sport.
Okay.
In professional sport, you get what you can take. And that's a cold, hard reality that people don't like. But the people that understand it have done a lot of taking, and then they try to get back. I mean, they try to pass back and try to teach somebody else.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I appreciate your take on that. And that was that's awesome. We don't have a whole lot of time for rapid fire here, but I do want to ask you, because I think this is very important, and I really want you to think hard about this, Chael. And I know you don't, hold back. Are you ready? Are you ready for you are sitting down? The Tiger King. Thoughts on the Tiger King? Its impact on society. Have you watched it? And give me your thoughts. Did Carol Baskin kill her husband? I want to know all the answers.
I watched the Tiger King, but I got some advice from Dana. Dana said, when you watch it, watch episode 1, then watch episode 7. Save yourself the 5 hours in between. You'll get it. You'll appreciate it. You'll get it. You'll be able to have popular conversations since this is going through our society right now. That's what I did, and I'm giving other people that same advice. You'll get it. You'll like it. You'll be intrigued by it. You'll be baffled, but you'll also save yourself 5 hours. And as far as who did it, you know what? I was a little surprised that they put him away, quite frankly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised. I'm not convinced. You want to talk about reasonable doubt, beyond reasonable doubt? I don't know that they had it.
Anything else you're watching right now? How you staying busy? I know you got the babies, you got the kids there, just hanging out with the kids, or how you staying busy? What are you watching?
Yeah, that's the best part is our families all together. My wife and
Absolutely.
I usually travel somewhere once a month. I have to go somewhere twice a month. So the fact that we're all together, we are enjoying that part of it. We are a little bored, though, I will tell you. There's not a lot to do. Oregon, fortunately, we've had some very nice weather lately, so now you also have the option to go outside, go into the street, go into your front yard. So just that change of pace and change of scenery has been very nice. But for the most part, yeah, man, we're pretty cooped up, but we are enjoying one another.
Awesome. Well, tell me about the podcast. How can everybody find you, Chael, as we wrap this thing up?
Oh, no. Chael takes no plugs. They either know where to find it or they can live left out. Chael P needs no plugs. He needs no more attention. He damn sure doesn't need any more viewers. But I'm happy to talk to you today. I can tell you that.
Oh, Chael, it is.
Podcast. They're telling me the #1 podcast in the world for 4 years, and they don't know where it is. Then you don't deserve to know where it is. The rest of you, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Chael. Thank you for giving me a few minutes. We appreciate it, and I'll shoot you over a link so you can check it out. Chael Sonnen.
Of course you appreciate it. Of course you. I just dropped in your lap. The biggest fish in the pond drops in CYRUS FEES' lap.
Yeah.
You think you have to tell me that you appreciate? Believe me, friend. That doesn't need stated.
Listen, I got Ken Shamrock later. You're just the curtain jerker here. I got Shamrock coming up in an hour.
Okay, you know what? Shamrock is a hard act to follow. Fine. He can have his due.
Thank you so much, Chael. And that is it.
Goodbye.
That was Chael Sonnen. Big thanks to Nate Corey for joining us. And thank you for joining us and allowing us to give you a little entertainment in this very, very difficult time. We'll be back. More episodes, huge stars. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm CYRUS FEES. We'll see you next time on In This Corner.